Welcome to another edition of In the Box. I'm Coach Q. This is Paul Bell, and we're continuing to talk about marriage and being single, typically about relationships. And today I think you all might enjoy the topic because Paul and I was talking beforehand, and we got a little excited. So we was like, hold on, we got to get this recorded. We got to get this recorded. So the question came up in First Corinthians 7 and 1. Now, the matter we wrote about it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. Since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. Paul goes on to say in verse 4 the wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. So we'll stop there. There's more that this whole chapter is filled with instructions concerning marriage, sex, single, being pursuing a relationship, not pursuing a relationship, so on and so forth. But you and I was discussing before we came on, talking about previous relationships, relationships prior to marriage, and how can that impact your marriage, and even single. Because one of the questions that you had asked in text message that you had sent previously was, is it possible for men and women, brother and sister, to be just friends without seeking relationships? And when I read the question, I was thinking she was talking about from a single perspective, but she was like, no, it corresponds to married life too.
Hmm.
So, what's your response to that question? Is it possible for men and women, brother and sister, to be just friends without seeking relationships?
Well, when you think about this, and what I mean is single, yeah, can I be cool with a sister in church? And because I know that I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be a twofold thing. So one is single. If anybody knows that if you spend time with people, feelings get involved, and unless you set that boundary early. Two, if you're married and you married, so do I become, can I be friends with your wife? And again, if or can you be friends with a sister? And we know that temptation arises because if one is giving more attention to the other, that person tends to navigate to that, and it's kind of hard. That's where temptation sets in, because then the wooing of the mind be like, wow, he's not doing this for me like this. Then on the single part is that, that's my man or that's my girl, but we're just friends. And again, unless that territorial bound is set, we have to set that, and we have to be we have to be intentional about knowing that the more, as men, as leaders, as farmers, we have to know how far to take it, because we set the narrative, right? Because women tend to navigate towards men that are, especially that love the Lord, or they see Him in leadership role, right? And so if the man in the marriage is failing, and that woman sees the man on the outside doing good and loving the Lord, and he's leading her, it's gonna be a problem. So I guess what we were talking about earlier, um, do you, before you get married, or yeah, before you marry, do you keep your old friends, and it could be without saying exes, but friends, but they're undercover exes? Then the question would be to me, yeah, you know how it works out here, man.
Undercover exes, okay.
Undercover exes, because yeah, that's my friend. Underline, that's my ex. But they're
Okay.
not going to tell you, and we're not sometimes going to tell them unless you're just honest like you, buddy. It's just not going to happen. So,
Wait, wait, wait,
in
wait, wait. So you telling me that you would not disclose to your wife or your future bride that someone is an ex?
I'm not even gonna bring them around, because
So
for
you're not gonna
one,
bring an ex around?
no, because that's what it is. That's just what it is.
Okay.
I've seen some people keep them around
Okay.
3 times over. So I think because it would be disrespectful, especially if you have relations with that person, because now you great put insecurities in the relationship, because now sometimes it all depends on that person,
Hmm.
because some women can be insecure, like, where y'all going? What you
Yeah.
doing? You see what I'm saying? And it could right like that was for a man.
So do you
You know,
think that time between the relationships has any play in that at all? Or you think that any time that you've had any type of sexual encounter with anybody that's considered to
I
be an
think
ex?
you playing with the devil because
Okay.
one, the memories come up,
Now, does it matter if that person is single or not right now, too?
oh, it doesn't matter because
Okay.
if they playing, they playing. All it takes, listen, I'm gonna tell you something. When I growed up, they told me men are like ravens or like crows, like vultures. They sit on a fence, they wait. They wait on women to fall hard, and so then they get lonely and they need an ear, and they're like they're ooh 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 ooh, they're ready to go, right?
Okay.
And so whether you married or not, it's just what it is. Now the women have become that way. You know, the women have become that way, and I'm sorry, it's just what it is. People want to, you got to be your own truth sayer. You know, I'm not. I'm just speaking from experience. I'm speaking from what I hear because people think I'm their pastor. I'm not, but I gotta listen because sometimes people just need an ear. So it ain't nothing I'm making up. It's facts. But so it's when you keep those exes around, it can cause trouble. And people will say, "Oh, it all depends on the woman." That's just like I'm big on not hanging out with married men too much,
Hmm.
being single, because some women think that single men lead their husbands to do things, and I'm like, I've asked different people, men and women. They say it all depends on the woman and who she is, and vice versa with the man. I just stick to my guns and say, you know what, high and by,
Okay.
or go ahead.
No, 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 no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean, because people can say it can go both ways, but it's all about the heart, man. Because you got to think about it. If women have been traumatized by men in the past, by being cheated on, that's not going to sit well. It's just not. And
Yeah.
why would you want to bring that destruction into your relationship that early, or
Yeah.
period?
Yeah. No,
So
I
that's
agree with
why
you on that.
I wouldn't even bring no exes around. That's just what they is. If I see them at the store, that's it. I'm not gonna bring that into my relationship. And would I allow it? Absolutely. I would have a conversation like, do you think that's fair to me?
So that when you say exes, again, this is someone that you was in a previous relationship with, right?
Yeah, but they label
Okay.
them as friends. Oh, that's my friend.
Okay. So now take it another way. What if it's someone that truly was a friend beforehand?
And
Would
we
that
never had
still
relations. But if we haven't had relations, that's fine.
okay?
But if
So
we
you
have,
think it's that intimacy piece, that sexual piece, that's the part where the line is
it never
crossed.
goes, especially if the soul ties haven't been broken. Oh yeah, for sure,
Okay.
absolutely. That's a problem
Okay.
waiting to happen.
No, I would agree with you on that. I would agree with you on that. If anytime that you have had any type of fornication or adulterous situation, then yeah, that can be dicey getting into a relationship with someone else that, regardless of who you are, man or woman, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
if it's just a friend, I think what you need to be cautious of, like I told you earlier, I've had friends for 30, 40 years, well before I even got married.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, knowing that we've never had any type of intimacy or sexual relationship at all, I think that has helped out as far as my wife's comfort level being around them because I agree with you. Had we had some kind of sexual intimacy or even entertained the idea, then yeah, I think even for me that would feel a little awkward because that could cause some insecurity. Now, if it's someone that we've known, like she's had friends that she's known before me, you've had friends that you've known before whoever, right? Um, I don't think it's right to cut off a friendship that you've had for years um, when you choose to get married. I think that, like I said, you just need to know where those boundaries are, and you need to be cautious of the conversation that you may have with that person because just because you're a female and I'm married and you know me beforehand does not mean that I can have every conversation with you.
It's called
That's the
respect.
part. That's the part that can get lost in the sauce, as some people say. Because
Never heard of that one.
you said what?
Never heard of that one. It sounds like a Paul Bell moment.
Yeah, right. Anyways, um, but that's the part where if you're not cautious about the communication that you're having, because when situations arise in your marriage that you feel like, you know what, I need to seek my friend's counsel,
Mm-hmm.
you got to choose the right friend.
Exactly.
You got to
Exactly.
choose the right friend. Just
Yeah.
because I've known you for 30 years don't mean that I can talk to you about every situation that's been going on between me and my wife. Okay, especially if you're a female. That's just not happening.
You
That's just
headed for
not happening.
trouble.
Yeah, headed for trouble. Because
For sure.
then what I start to do is I can start sowing seeds of want in your life, and I can unknowingly start sowing seeds of desire in my life. And those two can start to come together, and I can start sowing seeds of neglect in my relationship. So I just got to be cautious of those relationships, and um, male or female. Like I said, it's just a situation to where you just need to know where that line is, and you got to be intentional with your single friends and even your married friends, because sometimes when they're going through things, you got to be cautious what you talk to them about, because you don't want your married friends to think that you're trying to pursue them,
You know what
and
I've
vice
been
versa.
noticing? I've been noticing this here, what people have been doing. Especially, I know a guy, every time that he's with his wife, they automatically put it on speakerphone. It's like it's some type of uh, approval or accountability type of thing. I'm like, I'm not one for that. I ain't got nothing to hide. I mean, because I get it. You got modern technology, and you can touch the phone in your car, and you can speakerphone it out. You know, but if you got insecurity or you've had some issues before, that's sad. You should be able to still have freedom in your relationship. Especially if you know you haven't did anything with this person and your wife or your husband knows this individual. Uh, Definitely, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I just find it watered down relationship based, for me. Uh, and to each his own. To each his own. I've just noticed that, and it don't take a rocket science to see when people have bad relationships and they got notion. I got one guy, his wife walk out the door, he calling her every 15 minutes. Like, how are you having any fun? I just hear it through the line, and like she went to somewhere one time, her and another friend, it was a girl, and they said, man, that dude called every 15, 20 minutes. Like, how can you have fun? But then you have to realize people that cheat, if you're going to forgive, forgive. If you're going to forgive, you got to learn how to trust. That's the whole basis of this thing right here. Because sex is a deadly tool which is used wrong. It's an instrument that has been used wrong, even by me. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's no. I'm not a novice to it. I'm just as you get older, you get mature, you get wise. You get wise, like you said, wise counsel. You get around seasoned people that have been married, and you ask questions and you look, and you can identify like okay, because one of the things you notice about marriage folk is when a man is not fully giving that woman attention in the house, when they go out and he tries to do things differently, it's noticed. Think about it. If your kids acting this way at home, they're going to do it the same way outside,
Mhm.
right? And so it's going to look strange to them when you try to discipline them when they're used to that. So it looks strange in a relationship when a man tries to love on her or show her affection when she's not used to it at home.
Yeah, you brought up something that I wanted to call out, because you said if someone's caught cheating, or if they cheated, there's some kind of extramarital affair, or even if you're single and you're thinking about getting married and someone has a nefarious relationship, or does something nefarious in between the two. Um, it is okay if you establish those parameters on how you can build that trust between the two of you, such as being on speakerphone, such as whatever it may be. I don't see anything wrong with setting that up as a mode or steps to mend the relationship. Um, and maybe that's what they agreed to, is to have the speakerphone. And maybe when they got married, or while they were dating, they're like, you know what, listen, in order to make sure that we air out the situation so that both of us are comfortable, let's make sure that when we're talking with someone of a different gender, um, let's have it on speakerphone around each other. That could have been something that they agreed to. So I think that without knowing the circumstances around the situation, I think sometimes we can be quick to cast somebody off, be like, "Ooh, I don't want that. You do that in your relationship, dude? Like, why are you doing that?" I don't know if that's necessarily the right way. I don't know if that's the way you presented it or wanted to present it. I just think that there's certain things that we can.
I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the difference? You don't know. Okay, so what we don't know is the person we put on the speakerphone. Hey, I'm gonna put my girl on speakerphone, so I need you to act accordingly. Then we'll talk after that. You know what I'm saying? It's a
I'm not
role
saying
play.
that can't happen. No, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
yeah.
But that's also comes to that self-discipline and that integrity
Absolutely,
piece.
absolutely.
If you are truly in a relationship, why would you want to try to do anything to harm that? And also, on both sides, why are you looking for something that your spouse is doing wrong?
Watch this. That's why this platform is so important. We're exposing what's in the box. So men and women can look at themselves and identify where, like the lesson last night in Understanding the Power of Men by Miles Monroe. I came from the aspect of being a farmer. A farmer knows his field. He knows, how deep he needs to go to plant this flower. He knows how to cultivate it. He knows what it takes to nurture it. He knows the sun. If it's too hot here, he got to move it around, right? So as men, you're right, 100%. We have to be able to lead and teach and cultivate our relationship. Yes, of course, we don't want that. That's why people say they outgrow each other, because one is still sitting still, the other one's trying to go. That's why he says equally yoked. And you can't have an ox and a mule plowing the field, because one is going to move and one's not. And so then why do people do what they do? Because they put themselves up in temptation mode. And sometimes we cannot handle it. It's just like you can't put crack cocaine in front of a recovering addict.
Hmm.
It's temptation. He's gonna go for it. An alcoholic, he's not gonna want marijuana. He's gonna want what he wants. So you put a man in a harem full of women, what you think's gonna happen? He's gonna flirt, or he's gonna seem to want attention. So men and women do things to get attention, man. And it's not. Let me say. Sometimes it don't be like what I want to say. It's like we lose our mind for the things that we want.
Okay. Yeah.
We lose our mind because we forget everything. I'm a movie buff, and one of the things I was yelling at a man last night, man, why would you do it? Just tell your wife. Tell her the girl's flirting with you. Just tell her. Y'all just got done going through it. And I'm like, why don't we just say, babe, it's a man or a woman, and they're addressing me in the wrong type of manner. That way we can work through it together. But no, we try to handle it ourselves, and then all darkness comes out. And now you look like the bad person. Then that man and that woman look at you like, but babe, I tried to fix it. No, that's why we're a team.
Hmm.
He says a helpmate. So if you're my helpmate, not my side piece, my helpmate, help me. We got to help each other. Just
Okay.
tell it. So if we want to tell everything else, just tell that.
Okay. So I think that that's one piece of being open and honest.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I agree. It would be helpful if men and women would seek to be truthful about the things that they are going through or dealing with.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, it's also helpful for men and women not to seek things that their spouse is doing wrong, because that it goes both ways.
Yeah.
If I am going to be in a relationship, I can control myself, and it does me harm if I'm always trying to find something wrong with that my spouse is doing. So if I'm always looking at like, oh my gosh, who is my wife talking to now? Or You talking to that person again? You just talked to that person a few moments ago, or you spent 30 minutes with that person. Like, why? Why?
You know what I
Why
tell
are you doing that?
you know what
What's
I
that?
tell people? You know what I would say?
What?
Spend more time with her. Do things with her. If you don't want her on the phone, do things with her. Find a garden to go plant.
No, I understand that. I understand that. And you know what? You could be spending 24/7 with that person. But but as soon as you get a phone call from somebody else, like, why are you doing that? Like, hey, babe, you sitting right here. We've just talked. We've been talking the whole time period, right? I think it's a matter of self-control and maturity, and even what I would even say is meekness, right? Strength under control, knowing when is appropriate. Because sometimes too much being around somebody can be a bad thing. Sometimes too much can be a good thing, right? No, you can't really have too much of a good. Well, I guess you could have too much of a good thing because yeah, you can get full and fat off of food, right?
I don't know. I talked to some people that's been married 54 years and they love every moment together. They unbreakable.
But you know what? The truth of the matter is that there's time periods in that relationship when it wasn't that way.
Exactly. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say
Yeah,
that. But
because when we look at certain people, like I told my congregation the other day about the story of Billy Graham and his wife. Um, uh, they had been married for 60 something years and they were getting interviewed, and reporters like, Ruth, you've been married for so long, and Billy goes on these trips and this
I
excursions, and you
see
got to stay
that one.
home with the children. And how are you like? Have you ever thought about divorcing him? She said without even hesitation. She said no, not
Mm-hmm.
one
That's what
time.
she said.
But I thought about killing him.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you that even over the time period that things happen in a relationship, but it's also how you choose to perceive things. Don't go seeking evil in your
Mm-hmm.
spouse. Because guess what? You're going to manipulate the situation in your mind to where it's going to be perceived as being something that's going to happen. And it may not be anything there.
I think too, it has to have a time where you have an open discussion. You know, you pick it verbatim. You know, like like where are we at in our relationship? I think it's only open and fair because if you don't have those discussions, we're just all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, let's make sure we're on the same page, babe. You know, how's our sex life? How's our financial life? How's our kid? If we got kids, what's our kids doing? You know what I'm saying? Your toenail green, but it's blue. You know, we gotta be able to identify those facts about one another. You know,
Yeah.
because coming into the marriage, we were imperfect people, but getting married, we're saying we're perfect for each other, right?
Yeah.
So
And you're going to have
with
ups and downs too.
yeah, yeah, that's why I'm gonna say even in imperfection, stuff get still get ugly.
Mhm.
And, you know, even on that lesson last night, I think that men and women look for the word superficial. We look for the outer lane instead of the inner. That God looks at the heart. You know, and I guess we all got our preference. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not gonna. I'm gonna realize that. But at the same time, sometimes God puts that unnormal person in your life to help you see that inner part of that person. Because if we're so as men, I'm just gonna talk about men. If men are looking at that big button and smiling and big boobs, you're looking at the wrong thing. Bell Biv DeVoe said that's poison, and I get what he's saying because that's all they have to bring to the table. But if you look at the heart, what is their heart showing them to be?
Yeah.
Is it showing them to be a godly woman? Is it showing them to be a woman in the streets? Is it showing them to be a woman that cusses? Is it be a woman that, you know, is this woman gonna be contentious? I gotta sit on the roof because she's always arguing, bickering, nagging. You know what I'm saying? And you know the biggest thing is people cause trouble just to leave to go cheat. If that's all you gotta do, just go and just leave. Jesus told Judas, just do what you gotta do and get it over with.
Well,
That's a whole
Hudson
lot
time
to
was
be said.
also up. But yeah, well, that wraps up this session of In the Box. Feel free to email us at inthebox317 at gmail.com. Again, that's inthebox317 gmail.com. I'm Coach Q. That's Paul Bell. You all be blessed.